What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. It is the 2nd of November. This is our November analysis. I like to do these month-to-month analyses in the beginning of each month. And, we're about 3 hours, 40 minutes into the new day. The last time I did this, it was October 2nd or October 3rd, calling for new all-time highs by the end of the month. I think I was the only person on YouTube to do that. It got so close, but no cigar. Ultimately, I was wrong. We came up just short, but I will take a near accurate prediction. I'll take that. That's what I think at the least we could hope for. So hopefully, if not pinpoint accurate, we get something that's close enough, right? With this video here, I do feel pretty confident on these month-to-month analyses. And without any further ado, if that sounds interesting to you, we're going to do some Bitcoin November analysis here. Stay tuned. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I have an idea, but we're just going to kind of figure it out as we go. Hit that like button and subscribe. I've gone through already. I saved you guys the boring parts, right? I tallied up. I went through every November that we've had, and I defined them as red months, neutral months, and green months. Now, red and green months are very obvious, right, as to which ones those are, red and green. But a neutral month I've defined as something that was less than 10% in growth or loss on an opening to closing basis for a month. So if we had a month like this November here, I guess that was 12%. So it is just over 10%. I would count that as green. If it was less than 10%, I would count it as a neutral. If it was a loss and it was negative 8%, that would be a neutral month as well. If Bitcoin can't move more than 10% in over a month's time, or in a month's time from open to close, I would say it's a neutral month. It can do that. Bitcoin can move up over 10% in an hour, in a 4-hour period. If it can't do it in a month, I think it's fair to say that's a neutral month. And I think it is fair to, or I think you should analyze not just red and green, but neutral as well. That way you get a more accurate picture. And the tally that I got based on these parameters was 3 red Novembers, 4 neutral Novembers, and 8 green Novembers. Green defined as something that grew more than 10% from open to close, right? So the most likely would be green. The next likely would be neutral, and then the next likely would be R. I don't know who has small dogs out there, but if you have a small dog, just know, and you probably already know, but your dog's bark is the most annoying thing ever. I would never get a small dog, ever. Like big dogs, man. Like their barks are loud, but at least they don't like make my brain bleed from the ears. Anyways, little dogs are mean, man. They're just so mean. Anyways, let's talk about November here. So again, 8 green months for November. Throughout Bitcoin's history, we've had 8 green Novembers, 4 neutral Novembers, and 3 red Novembers. Okay. What I want to do is I want to take it a step further, and I want to analyze specifically the last 2 bull markets, okay, not including this one. Well, we can include this one as well, but this bull market, and this one. I want to go over the Novembers in the bull markets specifically. So let's do that, right? Right here, October, this was a November right there, 19% to the upside, okay? And maybe I'll actually write this down as well, okay? So hold on real quick, got to write some stuff down. So we got a green one there, and it was 19.27%. We're going to get an average too, okay? 19.27%. The next one, so that was November 2015, 2016's November, was a neutral November, okay? Neutral. Bull market November, but still 6.4%. All right, to the upside. 2017's November was a green one as well, 54.8%. Just writing this down, right? You guys are going to have to bear with me. It's the boring parts, but the anticipation, isn't that what the point of life is? Let's see. November, oh, this was a bear market, so we're not going to count that. Bear market blues, no Novembers, no cigar for that November. The next November, this was during a bull market, but during a very odd phase of the bull market. Nevertheless, I would consider this whole phase a bull market, right? Even though we had this lagging period in there. Some people are like, that's not a bull market. Whatever. I'm counting that from like your pre-halving pump, your post-halving pump. Even you got the sandwich in there, whatever. I count that as an overall bull market, right? Just like this is an overall bull market. Even though we moved sideways here for 6 months, 5 months, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a bull market. We have those phases of consolidation. This just happened to be a very big one, and we had COVID going on. We had a lot of bad things, so it was a dud of a bull market, but still a bull market nonetheless. That November, without explaining myself more needlessly, negative 17%, our first red one. There we go. Negative 17.46. I don't know how we're going to add that into the average. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll do that on the calculator. 42% on that 2020. Nice. 42.72. Yeah, that'll still average out, right? I don't know why I drew a blank on that, but obviously that would work. 2020. 2021, of course, that was our top, and that was a neutral month as well. Then we have this bull cycle, of course. November was the end of the bear cycle, so we won't count that. November 2023, 8.8%. Okay. $8.4. All right, guys. So I've calculated since the 2015 to 2017 bull market, including what we've experienced so far this cycle. We've got 7 Novembers under the rap sheet here. Out of those 7, 3 were green, 3 were neutral, and 1 was red. Just 1. Okay. The one that was red happened in the year of COVID. So maybe that's an outlier, maybe it's not, but we're going to count it anyways. Let's be technical, okay? The percentages, I'm going to calculate them here. Let's go through it real quick. Google Calculator. And we'll just try. Let's get it. Okay, so 19.27 plus 6.4 plus 54.8 minus 17.46 plus 42.72 minus 7.08 plus 8.84. And that's that. We equal that all up, and then we average it out to 1. It was 7, right? Divided by 7. The average growth on a percentage basis that we've seen in November over the last 2.5 bull cycles now, 15.35% to the upside. 15.35% from an open to closing basis. So with that average in mind, 15.35. That would put us, and I actually want to use Coinbase here, just so it doesn't do that weird thing that the index does. $15, basically there. That would imply then that November would finish out this month at about $81,000 or more or less. You know, that's just the average. I think we could definitely see this month close out higher, if not absolutely see higher prices than that by the end of this month. And let's make sense out of that as well through some other means. Okay, this is something that I did on a live stream recently, and I want to incorporate it now. But that's just a number there. We can throw that out. I'll remember that. Basically, 81K is what I'll write. 81K. Okay, approximately 81K. Because that isn't quite 15.35, and we're not quite at 81K, so probably a little bit above 81K, but whatever. BTC will go back to the index for the history. What I want to do is now pull up the RSI, right? Looking at the RSI here. So every bull cycle, and this isn't new to anybody who's been watching this for a while, every bull cycle we've interacted with this area, not only once, but twice. We have 2 peaks here, 2 peaks here, 2 peaks here, 1 peak, and then even 2 peaks here. It did not interact with this line, but that second peak was the peak in the bull cycle that topped us off. Well, not in the bull cycle, but the all-time high, the most recent all-time high in our last cycle, right? So still 2 peaks, even though this one was dramatically lower. Right? We're going to look for those 2 peaks. We haven't even had our first yet, but could this not be the first peak? It could be, but I very much doubt it, right? Just like I would have doubted that's the peak, that's the peak, that's the peak. You know, if there was time back here, that's not the peak, right? None of these are the peaks until they hit this white line. So I'm going to stick with that. I don't think we've even seen our first peak yet. We're going to, have 2 of them, however that looks. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is what happens, okay, when we're moving up, we get overbought, we get out of it, and then we get overbought again. What happens here? What happens when we enter that overbought zone a second time, okay? And again, this cycle, we don't really have a reference, but we've done this every time, right? Getting overbought, now you're not, second time getting overbought. You know, what happens? How much do we grow? How fast do we grow? Getting to the overbought zone, now you're not. And of course, this was during COVID. I'm going to compare it to these still, even though you technically didn't get overbought. I'm going to compare it for the sake of this analysis. I feel like that's a fair comparison. And then you get into your overbought zone here. What happened here, right? I want to go through and measure that. And I did this in my last live stream. I think it was my last live stream. But we're going to do that. And actually what I want to do is put vertical lines, and then we'll look at it on a weekly basis, okay? So vertical line here, I'm going to get just the RSI so that we know we're being accurate here. So it was that November, actually. November 2012, moving up. This was your second attempt here. I want to make it accurate. Let's see. I don't think you were overbought there, so it would have been here, overbought there. And then here you were overbought as well, not down here, no, but right there in November. November. That's kind of cool, right? Each time that you've gone into your overbought zone for your second time during the bull cycle, it's been during a November. All right, during that election time too. November 2012, November 2016, November 2020, 4-year periods, election periods. Hey, it's November 2024. 4 years passed. Will we continue this trend? Will we get into the overbought zone this month? I think we will. If we see the average growth that we're expected to see, we definitely would, right? Getting up to 80K, we would absolutely be at overbought areas. We were almost at overbought areas at 73K, 74K, nearly, well, it was like 73.6K or whatever the high was last month. What was that? 73.6, yeah, basically. So I am assuming that we will get into the overbought zone this month. What happened each of those months, right? Let's go over it. Let's go over it. Okay. So all the way back, 2012. We're going to go 4 weeks out. Okay, 4 weeks out. From here, from the low, okay, from the low, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. 4 weeks out, you grew 23%, 22.9%, okay? Here we are on this one from the low. 1, 2, 3, 4. That time was 15.8%. And then I'm saying 4 because that'll basically be by the end of this month, right? And then from here, from the low, 1, 2, 3, 4. 52%. Okay, last cycle. Here, assuming that we already have our low for the month, potentially, okay, right there, just below 67, 68K. Is that right? That's not right. That's not right, is it? $67.5? Is that right? Oh, that's right, because the week opened up. Okay, we didn't move down to 67.5. Okay. Okay, it was just the week. Whatever, we'll keep it. We'll stay true to that, whatever. From that low, you know, at the lowest, what we've seen so far would have been here, 15.8%, okay? 15.8%, well, we already know where that's going to take us. That's going to take us to 80K, right? Or no, it won't. It won't. Oh, because it's from the low, not from the opening price. 15.8%, if I could get it on there properly, it would take us still to new all-time highs. We'd be at, you know, about just under 80K, or around 78K, okay, something like that by the end of the month. Definitely getting into the overbought zone, and that would definitely bring promise, not just this month, but in the coming months, the corresponding months that follow. If we look at this white line, these white lines for what they are, you can see that, you know, we grew a lot over the coming months. We grew a lot over the coming months. In the last cycle, we grew a lot over the coming months as well. 52% being the largest one that we saw in that 4-week period. If we were to grow 52% this cycle or more, which we could grow more, we could grow less than the smallest one, even it is possible. But that would put us above 100K by the end of the month of November, okay? Now, that might sound crazy, but I want to make it sound less crazy using a similar version of this analysis, but not basing it on when we got overbought on the monthly. I want to base it on when we broke our pre-halving highs. This is another thing that I went over in the live stream. Maybe I didn't go over that last part in the live stream. I'm getting it confused with this next part. But whenever we had, let's go back to 2012, right? We're going to keep it relevant to the halving. Whenever we had our pre-halving highs, okay, right here, very first pre-halving high, 2012, November 28th, 2012 was the very first halving. So this was the high before the halving. When we broke that high, when we broke it, right here, breaking above it, in that 4 weeks that followed, right, and I need a percentage growth, from the high itself, okay, from the high, in the 4 weeks that followed, right, we go from the week, maybe we should just go from the week. We'll count that first week that it broke. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That was 56.56. And I promise this is relevant, especially if we're looking for that $100,000 by the end of this month. Yes, you guys, $100,000 could be possible by the end of this month. 80K, the number that I derived from the averages, that's the minimum target. That's the minimum target, 80K by the end of this month, okay? And not by, that's like by the close. We could be up higher, then pull back by then, right? That doesn't mean 80K is going to be the max, but 56%, right? 4 weeks, including the week of the breakout in price up from the high up before the halving. 4 weeks, including that week afterwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 56.56%. The next halving was in 2016, okay? July 9th, 2016. Here was your pre-halving high in June. You didn't break that until here, right? Until it was this week. 789.78. This week it was 792. So you barely broke it. Let's count that week there. Okay, from the high. 1, 2, 3, 4. 46.7%. 56.56, 46.74. Okay. Let's see. And I think what I did last time was I just measured it up to the high, but this time specifically I'm doing it 4 weeks because we're trying to keep it pertaining to November specifically, okay? This last cycle is the one that's going to give us a little bit of a problem, but 2020, May 11th, that was the last halving that we had. Well, I guess the last halving we had was in April this year, but the halving before that, right? Now it's debatable that you could say this was the high before the halving, okay? Possible. But I would say that this was your high before the halving. And it's a little bit further out, but tomato, maybe? Let's measure. Let's try. From this high, when we broke it, it was this week. And from that high, 1 week here, 2, 3, 4, would have been this red week. That's 18.7%. 18.7 versus 47 versus 56. It's not really that close. That doesn't really line up. But hey, sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get outliers. And if we were to move up 18% from the high before the halving this time, which that's definitely the smallest one we've seen so far, 18.7%, basically there, that would mean that we move up to 87,500 by the end of this month. Again, this is the minimum expectation that we have derived from this form of analysis and this whole chain of analyses that we're doing, right? And again, the minimum target that we've already derived prior to this was about $81,000. So 81, 87, okay, that makes sense. There's some stuff going on in that 80K range. By the end of the month, I definitely would expect we are above 80K, okay? Closing the month above 80K, maybe hitting as high as 87K. And this is at the minimum targets, you guys. Minimum targets, right? If we were to line this up with the high before the halving, which I think this would be the discernible high before the halving, personally, but tomato, we'll see. Who cares, right? We'll do them both. We'll let you guys decide. We broke it here this week, okay? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We're not going to get the high right there. We're going to get the 4th week high. That was 36.8%, 36.8, 46.7, 56.6. It seems kind of more appropriate, this one, to me personally. I feel like that makes more sense, but you know, there could be an argument made for that again. I don't want to discount that again, giving you an 87K target. But this time, and this is still at like, this is the maximum of this scenario, but still smaller than either of the two. So this is still looking on that minimum side, 36.8% from the high before the halving, 36.8%. Come on, you. A little bit more. That would, you were already at 100K. So 36.8% would basically put you at like $101,000, 101, just above 100K by the end of the month. And this is the minimum target still of like a maximum of the minimums, I guess. It's the maximum of the minimums. I don't know how else to put it, right? Let's say we moved up 46% or 56%, right? We're getting overbought this month on the weekly and the monthly likely, right? And we see a lot of strong moves take place during then. We're also in the middle of breaking out past our current all-time highs, breaking out of this year. I don't think that we're going to get some kind of like flop of a move or like slowly move up, right? It's going to be a breakout move, and it doesn't seem like it now, guys, but we're already in this move. Like we literally already are in this move. That's going to be phenomenal going through the end of the year. But oh, what was I just going to do? I forget, but $101,000 by the end of the month could be the target, right? Oh yeah, if we were to go to like 46%, was it 43%? I forget. I want to look at it. 46.7. 46. That'd be about 107,000. Okay. Through this form of analysis, which is still very shallow, there's, I would say, more pointing toward the idea that we would see prices above $100,000 by the end of the month rather than just above 80K, okay? Now comes the part where we can try and finesse it a little bit. I hope this all makes sense so far, right? Based on the average growth that we would see for each November, 15.3%, 35%, that would give us a price of 81K. Based on the growth that we see after breaking out, or after getting overbought on a monthly basis, the second time we get overbought, you know, the price action we would see would probably take us somewhere around like 87K, right, or something like that, or whatever it was. I can't remember. Go back and watch because I can't even remember what I said. And then based off of this form of analysis, there are several targets pointing to that of above $100,000 by the end of November, right? A lot of people are calling for 100,000 sometime next year. A lot of people are saying we'll be at like 80 to 90K by the end of this year. And I've been saying, not just lately, although I've been saying it a lot louder lately, but I've been saying it all cycle, guys. People are assuming this cycle is going to move slower, and they're wrong. It's not going to move slower. It's not going to move faster. It hasn't moved faster. It's just right on time. It's doing what it always has done. I'm not taking the numbers and then exaggerating them. I'm not taking the numbers and lessening them. I'm taking the numbers and applying them exactly as they are, right? You can see it. And that's why I think I don't get where this idea that the market is going to move up slower than it is or faster than it is coming from, right? I mean, everybody always thinks each cycle is different, and maybe this one's different. I don't know, but all we can do is look at the data, and what the data is saying, in my opinion, is that we have a very good chance of being above $100,000 by the end of this month, which would be nuts. It'd be absolutely insane, right? Maybe there's something else. No. That might be for another video. It's not a good November analysis video. Not a good. Not that this video is. It just wouldn't be what I was thinking in my head to do next. I don't think would pertain to November. It'd be more of Bitcoin as a whole. Maybe we should do it. Let's do it. Let's do this. Okay. Because we're getting there with the dominance. Okay. Monthly basis. What I want to do is I want to look at Bitcoin. And I want to make it a candlestick chart. Candles. Okay, there we go. Logarithmicize it. There we go. It's logarithmic. So in case you can't tell, This is the dominance chart. This is the Bitcoin price chart, okay? Obviously, it's not the complete history. It can't be because the dominance didn't exist. The dominance chart didn't exist beyond 2014, okay? So right before the dominance started to really tank here, I might have to move this up a little bit, and then we'll move this down a little bit. That way we can overlay them a little bit here. Right before it really started to tank, Bitcoin wasn't really growing too much. I mean, it was growing at a steady pace, but it really started to take off afterwards, actually, after it started to tank. Okay, interesting. Started to tank over here, and that was after it flew, right? After it flew, coming to the end of it. So kind of inconsistent there. Not really giving me anything that I would have wanted to see. What I was expecting to see was something like we would see Bitcoin pumping into its dominance, topping off, and that makes sense there. And yes, it pumped here, but I was looking for something more like this. We've gotten a mix of both, and then the dominance drops, and then Bitcoin. I don't know. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant, that part, anyways. It's not disproving or proving anything that I'm saying. It's just not. It wasn't. It's not consistent. We don't have. It's inconsistent, right? Obviously, Bitcoin's growing now. The dominance is growing now, kind of like this here. Will Bitcoin grow at a fast rate before it drops off, like it did back here? I don't know. You know, that's it's not enough information to go off of. So this last part really is just kind of a waste of time. Something to consider. The dominance will drop soon, right? And when it does drop, Bitcoin will continue to grow, but the rest of altcoins will pump a lot. But it wasn't. I was trying to expect, in case anyone's still confused as to what I'm doing here, I was thinking that once we saw the dominance drop, we would still see Bitcoin pump like a mother. Just other coins would pump more. That's why the dominance would drop, right? Or maybe I shouldn't have drawn that line there. I should have drawn it like over here. But that's not the case. At least that wasn't the case this time. So I can't say with certainty that, you know, as of right now, with the two iterations we have, it's just like a 50-50 chance essentially. So it's useless. Now we can do just some regular analysis. Okay, hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. Weekly RSI looking very bullish. Okay, coming out of the oversold or the 40 area, right? You got overbought, came down to the 40, bounced, and boom, you had a run. Got overbought, came down to the 40, and then boom, we're going on a run. I think we're on the run right now. The last time we did this over here, this was our run. I very much expect that we're going to commence this run this month, and it's going to take us to new all-time highs. Last month, in the beginning of the month, I called for new all-time highs by the end of the month. That was a bold call. Now that we're in the beginning of the month, calling for new all-time highs, I'm one of 1,000 YouTubers doing that, right? It's not that special. It's pretty obvious. I think we all can sleep safe and sound assuming that that's going to happen. What I don't expect, and I want to give a shout out to Mr. Hat, but I'm not trying to put you on blast. You said it on the Discord, so I'm sure you know you're not. This isn't like hidden private information. But what I don't think is going to happen is that we move up just a little bit, and then we pull back. I don't think that's going to happen. And this is on a weekly basis, so that might not be the best look. But I can't see us breaking out to new all-time highs. We haven't done it ever where we broke out to new all-time highs and then pulled back immediately, right? Or even pulling back, breaking out above those pre-halving highs and then pulling back immediately. Normally when you break above those highs, you just go. You keep going. It wouldn't make sense to me, and I could be wrong, right? There's a lot going on in the world right now. I mean, like, who knows what could happen, but it wouldn't make sense to me to consolidate for this much time. You finally get above that high, and then you go down, right? Like, you're going to keep going. You're just getting started. It's like the people that sell, and Mr. Hat's not saying sell here. That's not what he's saying. But the people that sell right on a breakout, it's like, what are you doing? We just broke out. The party's just getting started, right? It's like back here, right? We broke above this high. Why would you sell as soon as we broke out? Like, why? It pulled back very briefly up here, but nowhere near those pre-halving highs. It pulled back, you know, right here. I guess actually here, hey, this is actually a good argument there in Mr. Hat's favor. Right? You moved up a lot. You did move up a lot, but then you did pull back basically right to those pre-halving highs, to be completely fair. You did do that. And then 2012, let's see, did you do the same thing? 2012, no, you moved up. You moved up. You didn't get above your pre-halving highs immediately, but when you did, you didn't. There was no looking back. So there is that one instance. I just don't think, I don't know, man. I don't think with this much consolidation, and especially if we look at this for what it is too, you were kind of moving up consistently, all right, and then you had a pullback. We haven't been moving up. I want to bring this all the way over here, okay? And it's not drawn to scale completely, but from a time perspective, it kind of is, right? We haven't been moving up this much, right? I don't think, like, it feels to me like the party's just getting started. Like, I just don't, maybe this could happen. Maybe we move up to 100K and then we pull back. I could see that, but I don't think we're going to pull up to 74K, 75K, anything less than 80K, and then pull back. I just don't see. I really don't see us even pulling back to these highs after we break out of it, but time will tell. All I'm trying to say by that last part, you guys, is that whenever we break above this high here, I'm expecting it's just go time. It's not going to be a straight shot up all the way, right? We had consolidation along the way up as well, but more or less a straight line, right? If you take it away, more or less a straight line, and you didn't pull back to your highs there, you know. Not that you can't, it happens. Breaking out and then back testing previous areas of resistance, it's a very common thing to do. It really is. But we've kind of already done that, right? Not here, but here. We broke out of our all-time highs. We broke out, and we've been consolidating right above them. We're going to break this range. We're going to break above our all-time highs after resting on them for so long, and we're going to turn. I don't see it personally happening. So, with that in mind, I'm very confident that by the end of this month, Bitcoin will be at least in the 80s. Okay, by the end of the month, right? Absolutely in the 80s. And I know, and I keep giving Mr. Hat shout outs here, M Hat. I know you're not saying that it won't be at 80K by the end of the month. I don't know if that's what you're saying or not. I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you were just saying, right, you expect to move up and it pulls back and then we probably continue to move up, right? And that could all happen within a week's period or 2 weeks period, right? That could all happen in the same month. You might agree. I don't know what your end of the month targets are, even if you have them. Right, but I'm just saying I disagree with how we would get there. Right, I'm painting it a different picture. I don't know. I'm getting hung up on this. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get hung up on this. It's the end of the night for me. All that to say, guys, my prediction for the end of the month, to wrap it up, this what started off I feel like as a good video and then ended up as a ramble. The final piece of this video I'd like to say is that I would expect Bitcoin is anywhere from $87,000, $87,000 by the end of this month, to prices above $100,000. And if we're not at $100,000 by the end of this month, it's December. Absolutely, it's December, and probably before Christmas. Probably before Christmas. And I think this move up will start after we break above the highs. I mean, so obviously it would start there. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It'll start after the election, right? Which is in about 3 to 4 days from now. So sometime next week we could be starting that move up. And that's my thoughts. I don't know. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Again, we're breaking out of this consolidation phase here. So I think we're going to get a breakout move. We, from a high here to a low here, have been resting on the 886, 786 area, right at our previous all-time highs, resting there. So that makes me think that when we break out, we're really going to tear. Okay, we've already checked and consolidated. It would make sense that we tear. And then also, what was the last thing? Oh yeah, then we've got the cup and handle, right? Yield, cup, and handle. And when we break out, you're going to get a breakout move, which to me is just like kind of non-stop breaks. But even on those moves that are non-stop, of course, you have checks along the way. So it's, you know, don't just expect upside 24/7. But all that to say, guys, yeah, price is well above 80K, if not even above 100K or around 100K by the end of the month. That's the expectation. It's not as precise as last month's was, but still a rough idea, right? Still a bullish idea of what's going to happen. That's all I got. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.